Hi. So this is an update to the video that I made earlier about the time trial tracker, and the reason why I want to make an update is because I've added a few new things, quality of life updates to the tracker, and I also thought it would be good to have a version with narration just to kind of explain what's really going on, because I don't think I made it very clear. So let's start by going over to the Google Drive folder where I have all the tracking stuff. So first of all, you can see that the tracker itself is over here, it's in the spreadsheet. And there's also a Google form that links to the spreadsheet. And that Google form actually allows you to upload screenshots of your time trial scores so that a script that is connected to this spreadsheet will automatically pull the data from those screenshots via OCR, Google's built-in OCR, and automatically detect the runners that you have, their scores for those races, and upload it directly into the sheet for you so that you don't have to key in the data yourself. And the screenshots that you upload to that Google form actually gets dumped over in here. As for the form itself, so let's take a look at it. This is what the form looks like. Very simple. There's only 2 questions. So the first question, as you can see, is just this upload screenshots of scores up to 10. Just here. Max 100 MB per file, which is plenty. You can upload up to 10 at once, which means you can basically do 5 races, take 2 screenshots each to cover all the scores, and you can just do all 5, upload all 5 at once. This second question here is a bit more interesting. It's for you to indicate new runner mappings. So for example, if let's say you replace your old Ace Silent Suzuka with a new Ace Silent Suzuka, you can overwrite it inside the sheet. And where exactly overwrites, I will show you later. So let's actually go and take a look at the sheet itself first. So you can see over here, this is just the overview tab. I'll cover it a bit later. Right now, what we really want to look at are these two, the data and the mappings tab. So the data tab is where the actual score information is retained. As you can see, just like goes all the way to right here. As well as your runners on the left with those respective scores corresponding to them. Mappings is probably the more interesting one. This is the key part of information that tells you, tells the OCR what to look out for in the screenshots. So as you can see on the left column here, it says OCR text. These are the actual names of the runners as how they appear in the screenshot. So as you can see, here Sakura Bakshino, Taiki Shuttle, Air Groove, these are all the actual names as how they appear in the screenshots. And the second column on the right, the sheet entry names, are the names that you want them to appear as under your data. So as you can see, my Sakura Bakshino is written as Bakshin13561, which is her actual rating. So as you can see, it's over here. And these are the scores that correspond to her. Same goes for Taiki13688 over here. Alright, so that's it. And then there's also the form responses tab, which keeps track of every response that has been made to the form. So let's actually talk about the mappings part first, because I think that can be covered quicker. So this second question over here, as you can see, both of these are optional questions. You just answer as needed. If let's say I want to replace my old Suzuka Ace, right? Right now it's 14684. Yes, Silent Suzuka 14684. And I want to overwrite it with a new Silent Suzuka. All I need to do is say Suzuka 15920 and put the actual name. This is comma delimitation, so very similar to a CSV file. Silent Suzuka back inside the medium team, and I'm just going to submit the form. And you can see that it's been updated. Silent Suzuka has been updated to 15920, and since this is actually a unique runner, it does not overwrite the Silent Suzuka over here. You can see the old Silent Suzuka under data is still there with all the existing data, but it's added a new Silent Suzuka over here with no data added in. And the reason why this is great is because, it allows me to compare 2 different Suzuka builds and see which one performs better in team trials. Now let's say, what if I want to add another Uma that I don't even have? So let's say, for example, Narita Taishin, right? Let's try Taishin 15902. Narita Taishin under the long team. Submit. Response recorded, and you can see I now have, okay, it's not updated yet. There you go. I now have Taishin 15902 division by 0 because, there's no data here. And under mappings, right at the bottom, it has added a new row, Narita Taishin 15902. So that's how the mapping part works. The reason why you cannot simply add a new Silent Suzuka here with, the new rating is because it will confuse the OCR, because, now it has 2 entries in Silent Suzuka. If it sees a Silent Suzuka in the screenshot, it's not going to know which one it is. Is it the 15920 or is it, the 1416, the 14684 one? So there is a necessity to replace. But for right now, I don't want to do any of this because I don't have any new Umas to replace. So we're going to move on. We're going to delete this row. Let's replace back to 14684. Delete this row as well. And delete this row too. And we're gonna restore Suzuka 14684 manually here. Of course, you could also restore it via the form if you wanted to. 4684. Alright, so now about the more interesting part, which is actually uploading the screenshots. Well, I don't have screenshots right now, but I'm gonna give a live demo and hopefully show how it works from the start. So let's hop over to Umamusume open right now. I have 3 time trial points, and the beauty about this is that, like I said, you can upload more than 1 race at once. So I can just do 3 races at once, save like 3 screenshots, and then delete, upload everything all at once, right? So let's actually go and do some live team trials right now. See what I get. Oh, I got a gold box. 3 alarm box, Alright, so very simple. We're just gonna take screenshots of these. We're gonna hop over here. We're gonna take a screenshot like so. So I click the part of the screen, as you can see. Just this part where the scores are. You could take a screenshot of the whole screen, but to keep it simpler for the OCR, I'm just gonna take a picture of this. And we're gonna move on as well. Oh, sorry. You need to scroll down, and we're gonna take the second half of the runners over here, like so. Alright, so we've got those 2 screenshots. You can just leave them to one side first. You're gonna race again. These are not very good scores. Alright, I'm gonna take a screenshot of this too. And a screenshot of this. And we're gonna race again. And we're gonna take the screenshot again for the 3rd and last time. Screenshot. This also works for screenshots on mobile. And in fact, for that one, you don't have to crop anything. Because it's already formatted nicely. There's not a lot of like other text on the screen or what could be recognized as text on the screen. So nothing to confuse the OCR with. Unless, of course, you have one of those massive flip phones, then I don't know what the game looks like on those. So I can't help you there. Alright. So now let's actually hop over back to the time trial tracking. So we now have 6 screenshots that we want to upload. And over here, let's just move these screenshots over. Alright, as now you can see, I now have 6 screenshots here in my desktop folder. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This corresponds to the 3 races that we ran. So we are going to upload those 6 screenshots. Extract files. And upload them here. Let them upload. And 6 screenshots, all corresponding to the races that we just ran. I already demonstrated the mapping, so I'm not going to enter a mapping. So we're just going to submit it as it is. The submission can take a little moment because you're uploading files with the submission. So just give it some time, but it won't take too long. There you go. Response recorded. So we're going to go over here. Let's take a look at the screenshots, and you can see there's now 6 screenshots over here. But of course, the question is how actually does it pull the data from those screenshots? So to answer that, we're actually going to go over here we are going to go into extensions and app script, which is the key part of this whole operation. So this is actually the script, the JavaScript that is written to process all of this. It's configurable. You can change your source folder ID. This is the folder ID of the screenshots folder where all the screenshots are stored. Process folder ID. This is the ID of a secondary folder where screenshots are moved after they have been processed. This is to prevent them from being double counted and processed more than once. The name of the data tab, the name of the mappings tab, the column indices of the different things, the new runner index, for example, runner name index, data entry column index. So these actually just correspond to columns along the spreadsheet. So column D here, column B, column A, and this column C for index 2. Alright. I could go through the entire script, but I feel that would take a little bit too long, and it's also complicated, so it will probably be easier to explain from the triggers tab over here. So there's 3 triggers. The first one is a pretty basic one. It's cleanup process folder. This basically looks at the process screenshots folder. That means screenshots that have been dealt with already and are not needed anymore. And it checks if like any screenshots have been there for 7 days longer. It just assumes that you don't need it anymore and it just deletes it. On form submit, this one is to handle the second question in this form. So the part about the mapping. It listens for new form submissions. Every time there's a new one, it checks whether the new submission has any data in this field. If there's no data in the field, it doesn't do anything. If there is data in the field, then it does all the things that we saw before. It can update the mapping here, or maybe add a new mapping and then add new rows here for the new mappings, so on and so forth. And the third and final one is a time-based trigger for processing the screenshots. So this one runs hourly, and this is the one that actually looks at the screenshots, pulls data via OCR, and inputs the scores into the spreadsheet. And we can also go over here to executions to see recent executions. So we can take a look at the ones that we've just done recently. So this is the on open trigger. I'll explain this a little bit later. This is on form submit trigger. So we can take a look at the logs for this. And this was the one where I did just now, where I updated my Silent Suzuka to, the new Silent Suzuka mapping. So you can see updated, not created. Updated mapping to the new Suzuka 15920, and then inserted the new one at a new row under the medium team. And this one should be Taishin, if I believe. Yes, added. You see this one's updated, this one's added. Added new mapping, Narita Taishin 15902. Inserted Taishin 15902 at row 21 under the long team. This is another on open. I'll explain it later, like I said. And this is another on form submit. This one, as you can see, has no logs because, I didn't add anything the third time because there was no Uber mapping. I just uploaded screenshots. So the question now is, what do you do with those screenshots? Of course, you can wait for an hour to wait for this thing to trigger again, right? This time-based one, it last triggered like about half an hour ago. You could wait for half an hour. But what if I want the results right now? I want the screenshots to be read by the OCR right now. I want it to update the sheet right now. There is a solution for that, and it's actually the other one, the function deployment, the execution that I ignored just now. These two things on open. So there is a special feature that I've added to this spreadsheet. This one doesn't have a log, but every time you open the spreadsheet, it runs this function on open. And what it actually does is, if you go over to the time trial score tracker sheet, you'll notice there's a button over here that doesn't belong, that doesn't really belong. It's not like the rest. Why is Umamusume in my Google Sheets? So what this actually does is, it's a button you can press to process the screenshots now. So it does the same thing as the hourly, it runs the same function as the hourly trigger one, but it allows you to do it anytime as you wish. So right now I have, 6 screenshots in here. I want the data now. Alright, so let's process it now. Running script. And if you head over to this side, you can see there's a new script running over here. And no logs because it's still mid-run. So we're just going to wait and we're going to watch. So if everything goes smoothly, it should insert 3 new rows worth of data over here. So let's watch and see. It's adding row D, row E, and the third row. There you go. So these 3 have just been added. If you were watching closely, these 3 were just added. 3 new rows of data. And so now let's check if it actually corresponds to the screenshots. Let's go over here. So this is the first race. This should be in column F. Let's take a look. I'll just take a look at a few of the runners. I won't look at all. Suzuka, 65. Oh, wow. Okay, there you go. 65615. Maruzensky, 53k. There you go. 53187. Goshi, 45.9. There you go. And just to verify that it didn't, you know, clump 2 races as two different races together as one, we're gonna look at the second half of the race. From the bottom, special week, 21.6k. There you go. Grass Wonder, 22k. Yep. Air Groove, 23k. There you go. And now let's just quickly look at the other 2 as well. Takeon, 50k. On this column, Takeon, 50k. Yep. Goshi, 47. Yep. And let's look at the bottom 2. Spay, 14k. Oh my god, wake up, Spay. What the hell? Oguri, 19k. There you go. Alright, and then to check the third and final one, under column D, we have these. Suzuka, 56k. And bottom is Mayano this time with 21k. So looks good. All the data's been inserted nicely, no issues whatsoever. And let's also go over and look at the logs. So we can refresh and take a look at the log. So you can see the process screenshots thing was run from the menu instead of time. So you can see, for example, you go down here, you can see actually there was some time-driven ones. For example, there's one run at 5 PM where I uploaded another 2 different screenshots. So time-driven process screenshots, it does the exact same thing. Processes the screenshots, there were 4 in this case, identifies 2 races and writes them one by one, race 1, race 2. In this case, there were 6 screenshots, it identified 3 distinct races, wrote race 1, race 2, race 3. So if you remember, you can upload up to 10 screenshots, which means up to 5 races. So you can go from, you know, max race points, empty all your race points, take screenshots of all 5 races, and then upload all 5 at once. Very convenient. So that just about covers it for the data tab. Now the key thing, of course, that we're looking for is runner average, which is over here. It's just a formula that rounds everything to the right. And then there's most of the time you won't really be looking at this tab. You'll be looking at the overview tab. So you can really kind of just configure this however you like. The way I've set it up is to show me my bottom and top 5 runners, to show me, you know, which ones are most in need of replacement, which ones are doing good, and also tells me which runner I should set as my ace. So my highest scoring runner would be the one I want to set as my ace for each team. So in this case, it recommends me Taiki, Esmaru, Suzuka, Goshi, Digitan, for each sprint team, sprint, mile, medium, long, dirt. And it also tells me the score gap. So if let's say I have 2 runners who are very close, both of them could be my ace. So it will let me know if like there's a very minimal score gap to the point that, you know, it kind of doesn't really matter. In this case, the score gap is like the lowest here is like 3.3k between Taiki and the next best in my sprint team, which is Bakshin, whose song is currently playing in the background. Which I would say is significant enough, so, you know, Taiki, you can stay as the ace. But yeah, that more or less sums it up. That's the whole video. I don't really think I'm going to make any more improvements to this. I think this is more or less where I want it to be at this point in time. So yeah, you can, like I said, you can do this with your phone too. You can take screenshots of your phone, upload those screenshots, and it'll work exactly the same. I'm not going to demonstrate it here because recording on a phone sucks. I don't want to do it, but it works exactly the same. You just upload the screenshot as it is, and it just works. So, potential failure points that this can run into. The first and most significant failure point is also not really a failure point. It happens when you upload, say for example, 2 races at a time, and those 2 races are, by some crazy coincidence, have the exact same runners in both of their top halves. And if you do that, and the file names get jumbled up when you upload it, what can actually happen is that you can have the top half of runners from race A get sewn together with the bottom half of races from race B, as well as vice versa. So you end up with like an amalgamation of 2 different races combined into one for both of these races. The reason why I didn't want to fix this is because there is one very simple fix, which is to simply ensure that there is overlap between your screenshots. So for example, you could have the last runner in your top half of one race also appear in the second screenshot at the very top. And if it does that, the OCR will detect that these 2 screenshots correspond to the exact same race and it'll put them together, so it won't mix them up. But even if you don't do that, it honestly really isn't an issue, at least for me, because I'm not really tracking each individual race, race by race. Like, it's here, but I don't really look at this. The important thing that I want to look at is the average, which, doesn't really change. The only other error that can possibly happen here is that occasionally, because I'm on a free plan, Google API doesn't like me, and sometimes it fails to process a screenshot when I call its OCR service. And as a result, very rarely, it can upsert a fresh column of race data with only half the runners there. So you have like a race that has like filled with like 8 runners and then 7 of them are missing. And that can be pretty annoying, but the solution to that is just delete the row, upload the 2 screenshots again, and just do the whole thing again. Alright, that more or less covers the whole thing. I don't think there's anything else. Hi Teio, you look a bit stupid today. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of being able to pull this off, and if maybe I'll make more stuff like this in the future. I don't know. Alright, peace.